I got it for you. This is the no mouse game. Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by. So, like I said, this is the game where Magnus Carlsen plays without a mouse. He takes his mouse and throws it out the window. He says, I don't need a mouse, bro. So this is the Armageddon game between Wesley and Magnus Carlsen in the losers bracket. And this one is for all the marbles. The first two games that they played were draws. So this one is for everything. You got to go all in, bro. So all of my people in the Philippines, I will say Maraming Salamat. Anybody who is coming up from Norway, I will say Tusen Tak. If you guys are ready to go, man, let's take a look and see what we got for this game, son. All right, so we got the move E4. We got E5, all standard stuff up to this point. Knight to F3. Knight C6. We got Bishop C4, Bishop C5. We got castles by white, Knight to F6, and then we do have the move D3. And this is the Giuoco Pianissimo. Italian for very quiet game, but like I always say, these games are never quiet, bro. We got the move D6. We got C3. You know, trying to give our bishop just a little bit of luft. You know, kings aren't the only ones with luft around here. We got A5. Trying to make sure that queen side expansion on the white side is not something they get in. We got rook going to E1. We got castles by black. We got the move H3. So, as I always tell you with these openings, you know, basically both sides are kind of doing their maneuvering. They're trying to get their pieces in the maximum positions. So, it is a slow, kind of more like a D4, D5 kind of game. We do see H6. We got bishop down to B3. We got bishop to E6 contesting this bishop here. So, it's not bad if you want to trade it. You can also go bishop to A4, but we do see bishop going to C2 in the game. I mean, all of these diagonals are leading to the king in some different kind of way. So, it's all good to go. We got bishop back to A7. We got knight B to D2. And, you know, in these positions, you have many different types of moves that you can play. So, it's not like there's just one line to play, like it's kind of like a gambit or something, you know. So it just kind of comes down to personal preference, kind of like how you want to play the game yourself, personally. We do see D5 coming. If you are black, you really can't kind of wait around because then white is going to be developing, you know, kind of getting their pieces in the best positions, and they will be pushing D4. So you really kind of want to be, you know, fast with your movement. So we do see D5, pawn takes. We got queen taking. This pawn was hit very well, so we want to try to make sure that we secure that. We got queen going up to E2. We got rook F going to E8. We got knight down to F1. Like I said, I mean, we do have some maneuvering. And so generally what you do see is the knight making this tour. And, you know, just making sure that, you know, this either the E4 pawn when it's there is safe or making sure that black cannot just push their pawns going forward. We got the rook A to D8. We got knight up to G3, like I said. We do see the move B5. And, I mean, pretty much, for the most part, both players have played really close to 100% by this point. We are 15 moves into the game. And, I mean, neither player has, I mean, made really any mistakes. They pretty much played like mostly theory. And we are not in a novelty yet. This is stuff that has been seen many times before. We got bishop going to E3. We do see bishop taking, and we got queen taking. Now, this is the novelty of the game. Queen takes E3. We have seen F takes E3 before. And like I said, everything just kind of comes down to a personal preference, whether you want to go ahead and just make a complete structure like this, or you want to keep things a little bit more open. It does make a lot of sense to do this queen takes E3 move, and you will be kind of seeing that as the moves come up. We do see bishop going back to C3. And this is what I will say would be like the first like inaccuracy in the game. The main problem with bishop back to C8 is bishop on E6 was actually a very, very strong piece. It is definitely by far like the strongest place for this bishop to be. So once you've developed the piece to that square, it's really not super advisable for you to undevelop it. You know, if you were going to kind of try to go to bishop to B7, and, you know, you probably would have played like maybe B6 and bishop to C8 earlier in the game, instead of kind of undoing what you just got done doing. So, you know, it's not like it's a blunder, but it does kind of change things positionally a little bit. You know, one of the jobs of bishop to E6 was to make sure that bishop to B3 wasn't like a super powerful move, but we kind of have that power going on here. Like I said, it's not the absolute worst thing in the world, but something that probably would have been a little bit better in this position was just kind of committing. You did push this B5 move. You are trying to kind of get a little bit of an attack going here on the queen side. So it definitely was a little bit better just to kind of continue that. After, you know, you maybe see b4, you might see bishop a4, pawn take, and then bishop back to d7. And yes, you have moved your bishop, but you're responding to kind of what white is doing with their bishop. So, I mean, this is definitely holdable if you are black and you're good to go. But like I said, we did see bishop to c8. So it's not like the game is lost. This just does give white a little bit. And the problem is, Magnus Carlsen isn't the person that you want to give a little bit to. Really, Wesley So isn't either. And neither one of these players you want to give a little bit to. We do see knight going to e4. This is very much threatening the king side because you really don't have a good defense at the moment with knight taking f6, kind of damaging your entire structure. So we do see knight taking e4, pawn taking e4. We got queen going back to d6. And you see that every move that white is going to be making coming up, it comes with a very real threat. And it's also gaining a little bit of time on the opponent. So you definitely see that white is in the, they do have the initiative. Rook a to d1, this is hitting the queen. The queen goes back to e7, and then we do see rook to d5, kind of like an immortal rook lift, kind of like, you know, really just like, you know, popping this rook firmly in the center of the board. But at the time that this was played, b5 was not a liability, but in this specific position, it is a little bit of a liability. So you see that Magnus Carlsen is starting to try to pick at what, you know, black has in their position. We do see the move b4, but we do see the move bishop to a4. Now, like I said, you do have a situation where, you know, Magnus Carlsen is starting to identify like weak points in Wesley So's position, and he's trying to pick at those weak points. One of the things I will tell you, if you are playing chess and you're playing against your opponent and you have gotten yourself in a good position and you start to notice like little weaknesses in your opponent's position, don't ever let up. Because if you do let up, I mean, your opponent, you know, they're going to start kind of getting some traction rolling, and they might turn the tables on you. One of the most irritating things that I come across when I play games myself is I'll either have a really solid position or I'll have like an even way better position for like 20 moves. And then all of a sudden, like I make one move and now the game just falls apart. And you're like, dude, like all of my hard work for 20 moves should count for something, bro. But sometimes it doesn't. Bishop goes to b7, but this does allow, you know, Magnus Carlsen to remove the defender of this a5 pawn. So as of right now, this knight is holding it, but there is a way to get rid of that. So we see bishop taking, and then we do see rook taking a5. And Magnus Carlsen, I mean, they're really just kind of a pawn to the good. Everything is everything, and rook to e1 is definitely coming in handy because it is holding that e4 pawn. And like I say, one of the major things that you want to make sure that you're doing, especially in these types of openings, is making sure that you protect, even overprotect this e4 pawn. We got queen coming to d6, and Magnus Carlsen is like, bro, I mean, let's just trade queens, man, because if we do, like, your troubles will go away. But they won't. If you're Wesley So, your troubles will not go away if you trade queens, so you absolutely need to keep queens on the board. We do see pawn taking c3, queen taking c3. We got the move f6. Securing, making sure that we try to protect e5 as much as possible. There was kind of a little bit of something. But this f6 move will kind of come back to bite Wesley So in a little while, and you will see exactly why. And we have reached a position after the move f6. There is a completely winning move that you can find in this position. If you want to pause the video and try to guess that move, go ahead and do so. Okay, so I think some of you guys should notice that this bishop isn't like just kind of like, you know, holding its own in this position. And there is a way to exploit the fact that it is a little bit loose. Rook to a6 is absolutely that move. It pins this bishop down to this queen. There aren't any discoveries that you can put in there. There's no checks or anything like that. So it is just pinning this piece down, and it is threatening to win it. After you would see something like rook to e6, rook to c1 just completely 100% wins the bishop. There's nothing else for you to do here in this position. You are going to be winning this bishop very, very soon. So there really is no counterplay. Now, I will say in this game, after f6, we did see Magnus Carlsen go rook to c5. Now, this wasn't as explosive as the move before, but it definitely still is a winning idea. You're tying the bishop down, but just kind of in a different way. You're just tying the bishop down to the protection of this pawn. instead of tying it down to the, you know, the defense of the queen. So it's a little bit different in nature, but it definitely is a nice idea also. So going forward, we see rook going to e6, but you do have the ability to protect in this situation. You're just going to be losing a pawn at this point instead of the bishop. So we do see the move b4. We got rook going over to b8. You definitely don't want this pawn to continue to push, knocking the bishop out of the way, losing the pawn. We got knight going to h4, king to h7. We got knight to f5. Now, I was telling you guys before that this f6 move was going to be coming, you know, it was going to become a pain, because what has happened is you've greatly weakened this square right here. You don't have the ability to play this move right here and prevent a knight from coming in. So this is hitting the queen. So we got the queen dropping back to d7. We got the move a4. And like I said, everything in this position is centered around this c7 pawn. You absolutely don't want to go here, because you're going to be looking at rook takes c7, and then you're coming across here right like that. So that is not ideal. So we're trying to deflect this bishop. So we do see rook going over to c8, trying to defend this pawn. But then we just have the move b5. And, I mean, these pawns are actually kind of starting to get rolling over here. This is a completely passed pawn over here. So if we can get that one to the promised land, we will be living our dreams. We got bishop going back to a8. We got the move a5. We got rook e to e8. We do see the move f3. Like I said, you know, e4 is, you have to protect it. You really kind of want to move this rook somewhere else. You don't want it just protecting a pawn the entire game. So now f3 is helping you out. The major difference is this bishop can't hop around like this knight can. So you don't, okay, obviously that's not the move. So you don't have a situation where this bishop is going to really be able to improve itself. It's just kind of biting on this structure right here. So knights are a little bit different in that respect. You can't give holes in your position for an opposing knight. We do see the move c6, but this just allows the move b6. And I mean, you know, like I said, these pawns are like Usain Bolt, bro. All you really need is an a6 and an a6 and a b7, and I mean, you're solid. You know, black has to give up a piece. So we do see bishop going to b7, trying desperately to hold these pawns down. We got queen going over to b3, which might look kind of strange, because you're like, why am I just going queen to b3? Like, shouldn't I go like this? And then, I mean, I'm trying to push this pawn. Well, I mean, you're going to be seeing rook to a8, and that's going to kind of shut that stuff down, so you really kind of wasted a move. But queen to b3 has a very real threat behind it. We do see rook e to d8. We got the rook backing up c to c1. We allow the pawn to push, but, I mean, the pawn is not protected by any neighboring pawns, so it's just kind of just out there just, you know, kind of just chilling in the wind. And then we do see rook e to d1, and now we have a situation where we're going to be forcing some trades. Like I said, if you are up material, you definitely absolutely want to try to force trades, especially with this type of a situation. Having all of these passed pawns over here, it just only favors Magnus. We got the move c4, rook takes d7. We got pawn taking b3. We do get this nice intermezzo, Zwischenzug, rook takes g7 with check. We got king going up to h8. And then we do see the super hyper accurate rook up to b1. And I mean, you do have this bishop hit immediately, so you can't do something like this and protect your pawn and just drop your bishop. So you kind of have to give something. So we do see bishop to a6, rook takes b3. And now, I mean, you know, you're just up a massive amount of tier. You got 3 pawns to the good. You can say that the position is really open, so the bishop is better than the knight. But I mean, this is a very, very monster knight in white's position. We do see rook going down to c2. This can never be a bad move. It's not a bad move here. It's just kind of like you don't really have a whole lot you can follow it up with at the end of the day. So, I mean, you know, you're not living your dreams, but I mean, you got to try something. We do see rook going to c7, trying to encourage further trades. We got rook going to a2. We got the move b7. Rook goes over to g8. Now, this is actually a very sneaky move. You have to make sure that you defend this correctly if you are Magnus, but Magnus is Magnus, so I mean, he probably ends up defending the position well enough. We do see knight going to e3, and this is the point that Wesley So resigns the game. So Wesley So has gotten knocked out of the tournament, and Magnus, you know, survives to live another day. In this position here, you have a lot of different possibilities. I mean, you have like knight to h4. I mean, you can even push g4 if you want to, just kind of knock things down. But absolutely under no circumstances do you become hasty and go the move b8 equals queen, because you would be looking at a perpetual check. And this is what I'm talking about. When you're playing a game and you're just like dominating the entire game, and then you make one blunder move and you either blunder a draw or even blunder the entire game, you would be looking at this perpetual check right here. And that's not where you want to be at, bro. So, like I said, going back to the position that we had before, you know, we did see this move b5. And this move was actually, in theory, this was not a bad move at all. It was just kind of, you know, the being a little bit passive with that bishop move, just wasting just one tempo was enough for Magnus Carlsen to take advantage of your position and start to create some really concrete plans. So that was unfortunate. You know, the first two games that were drawn, I mean, they were like just kind of just straight up dead even draws, like, you know, and so you couldn't really tell who was better. But, you know, sometimes Magnus gets Wesley So, sometimes Wesley So gets Magnus. It just wasn't the day today, unfortunately. So, all of my people coming from the Philippines, maraming salamat aking mga kaibigan po sa nanonood ng aking mga video. Kamusta na? I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. Anybody who is coming from Norway, I will say tusen tak. You know, God Morgan, I appreciate you guys very much. I did change my chess legend guide down here. It's Geza Moroxy. You guys are probably somewhat familiar with the Moroxy Bond. This is the man that it was named after, and I believe it was 1906 when he first played it in the game. So, but yeah. So anyways, I appreciate you guys very much, and I'm going to see you guys next time.